the king of Israel, the king of Judah, and the king of Edom started out on what proved to be a looping detour. After 7 days, somebody shout 7 days. 7 days. They had run out of water for both army and animals. Woo! The king of Israel said, bad news. God has gotten all three kings out here to dump us into the hand of Moab. He pretty much saying, God finna kill us. But Jehoshaphat said, isn't there a prophet of God anywhere around through whom we can consult God? If you just look at the past 50 years, you see the advancement or the amazement or how incredible the human species is. But one thing you learn, not necessarily by education, but certainly by experience, is that every man, every woman gets thirsty. If we don't respond to the human needs that's inside us internally, you can create, you can innovate, you can do all those things, but if you don't drink, you die. And so now you got all three of these kings that are together, and he's thinking that he's got a good strategy here, and he's got a good plan, and they get 7 days into the desert, and they all get thirsty. There will always be something in your human strategy that falls short. There will always be something in your human capacity that doesn't plan for everything. They are in the wilderness, ready to fight, but thirsty. What do you do when you want to fight, but you're thirsty? What do you do when there's things you want to do, but there's weakness and there's setbacks and there's holdups? There's 7 days into the journey with no water and no strength to go back. Everybody's life is going to get you into a situation and to a point where it forces you to say, I don't got this one. I don't have the answers. So the kings are saying, is there a prophet? Is there somebody that knows God? And they was like, yeah, Elisha. And they was like, we trust that dude. Let's go to that dude. And they go to Elisha, and here's what Elisha tells them to do. It's about to get good. Elisha says, here's what God says to you. Elisha says, dig ditches all over this valley. That don't make no sense. That don't make a bit of sense. It's actually probably the craziest thing I've ever heard. I've been in the wilderness for 7 days. I have no water. I'm dehydrated. I'm tired. I have no strength left. And this prophet just told me to dig a ditch. The prophet had told me, I was like, I'm about to dig something more than a ditch. You better go back and pray. That's not a good. In my humanity, I would have been like, that don't make no sense. But here's what the prophet told them to do. The prophet said, dig ditch after ditch all over this valley. And he says, here's what will happen. He didn't say, here's what might happen. He didn't say, this is what may happen. He says, this is what will happen. He says this, and this is what I love. You won't hear the wind. You won't see the rain. But the valley is going to fill up with water, and your army and your animals will drink their fill. And then he says the thing I love. This is easy for God to do. Come on, somebody shout out. It's easy. Come on, somebody shout. It's easy. But it doesn't start with how easy it is for God. It starts with the instruction that the man of God gave them. The man of God said, dig. The Christian Standard Bible says, dig ditch after ditch. You know what that means? When you dig a ditch, dig another one. When you dig that one, dig another one. When you dig that one, dig another one. And when you dig that one, dig another one. So, all right, we dug a ditch. What do we do? Dig another one. He says fill the entire valley up with ditches. I wish I had a shovel. Shay, we got a shovel. Just check. Any possibility? This girl got a shovel. Y'all, Shay got keyboard. She got all kinds of stuff. Shay, how you bring this? Thank you, girl. Girl, you all right with me. I'm going to buy you some chicken at the church. I'm going to make your mama pay for it, though. All right. He says, somebody shout, get a shovel. Come on, somebody talk to me. Get a shovel. He says, get a shovel. They were waiting for the water. They were waiting for the blessing. And there's one thing that God has been teaching me. What does waiting look like? Because waiting is not doing nothing. And some of us are waiting on God. Come on, how many say, I'm waiting on God? Some of us are waiting on God to end this pandemic. We're waiting on God to heal my marriage. I'm waiting on God to restore my health. I'm waiting on God to bring me out of this storm. I'm waiting on God to take away my addictions. Hello, somebody. I'm waiting on God to keep my flesh under control. I'm waiting on God to help me stop sinning. And we all get thirsty. Because here's the thing. We all get thirsty. And we all start to recognize maybe I haven't been drinking from the right place. Come on, somebody say, I've been thirsty. And sometimes it's not until you wake up in the bed with the dude you ain't married with to recognize this ain't good. I got to stop doing this. I'm still empty. After y'all had a good night, y'all done had a good Valentine's weekend. Hello, somebody. And you woke up this morning and you're just as empty as you was before you hopped in the bed. Why? Because that's not the right well for you, baby girl. That's not the right well for you. There's more for that. You get high every night, but you still ain't got no peace. Why? But I'm not judging you. I'm trying to tell you that's not the right well for you. All of us get thirsty and we go to the wrong things for drink. Some of us don't feel fulfillment, so we go buy the nicest car and the nicest house and the nicest clothes, but we look in the mirror at the end of the night and we're still empty. We're still thirsty. I've been drinking, but I'm still thirsty. That's why God says, no, you drink from this well and I'll give you something that'll make you never thirst again. We all get thirsty and we all say, God, I'm waiting on you. I'm thirsty. I'm waiting on you to come do it. I'm waiting on you to come fix it. We're waiting on God to move, but God is waiting on us to dig. God, will you move? And God says, will you dig? God says, if you dig, I'll move. If you dig, if you come beyond yourself, I will do it. But you got to show me that you're in this thing. God says, I got to know that you're serious about it. And here's the thing. I show God I'm ready when I pick up my shovel. I show God I'm ready when I obey the things that don't make sense. Y'all hear what I just said? I show God I'm ready for whatever he's going to bring when I start obeying things that make absolutely no sense. But if God tells me to do it, guess what? I'm going to do it. So if God says, Ricky, pick up a shovel, Ricky going to go pick up a shovel. It might not make sense. And y'all might laugh at me. Well, why is this dude preaching with a shovel? Because God told me to pick up a shovel. And if God told me to pick up a shovel, I'm going to pick up my shovel. Because even while it hurts, even while I'm thirsty, I still dig when I'm tired. And some of you have had to dig with tears in your eyes. And some of you have been digging with pain in your heart. And some of you have been digging. Here's the thing. Here's the big one. Some of us have been digging and we're asking God questions because there's things that have happened in our lives that we just don't have understanding for and meaning for. And we don't get defiant and say, I'm not going to dig until you answer. But God, even while I'm confused, I'll keep digging. And I'll dig ditch after ditch after ditch. I show God I'm ready when I do it, even when it's hard. Show God I'm ready even when I leave that bad relationship. Digging ditches would be stupid. I would have said no to digging ditches. But God knows when to ask you to do what he asked you to do. Because I don't know. I don't got a lot of time to complain if I'm 7 days in the wilderness and I'm thirsty and I'm desperate and I need something from God. I mean, if this is the thing where if God don't do it, it can't be done. And some of you understand what I'm talking about. You're in a season and you're in a place where you understand what I need. Mama can't do it for me. What I need, daddy can't do it for me. My husband can't do it for me. My wife can't do it for me. This job can't do it for me. Only God can do it for me. So if God tells me to dig ditches, I'm going to go find me a shovel. We're in a season right now, I come to announce to somebody where it's dig or die. Come on, somebody shout, dig or die. You either dig, you either obey God, or you stay where you are and you're perished. But I don't know who I'm talking to, but if anybody wants the blessings of God over your life, where you say, if I got to pick up a shovel and if I've got to dig, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm thirsty, I'm tired, I feel like I can't make it. but I will dig. For some of you, God is waiting for this motion to be in your life. God, I'm waiting on you. Daddy, I trust you. So I will dig. God, nobody sees how bad I'm hurting right now. Nobody sees the pain that's in my heart. But I'm still going to dig. Somebody shout, I will dig. Daddy, I want you to bless me in the middle of a pandemic. And while I don't have any idea why you're telling me to start a business in a pandemic, however, I will dig. I will do it. Why would you tell me to go back to school right now? It doesn't make sense, but I will dig. And sometimes God will tell you to dig before he gives you anything to drink, because sometimes I got to dig before I drink. I got to dig before I drink. God told you got to forgive your father. I know he hurt you and I know he left you, but you got to dig. If you want me to heal you, you got to dig. You got to forget about what they did to you, and you got to forget about who lied on you, and you got to forget about who's been ignoring you, and you got to forget about who's been overlooking you, and you've got to forget about who doesn't call to check on you, and you got to keep digging. God says, I know people hurt you, and I know life disappoints you. God says, but I need some people who, no matter what happens in their life, they won't lose their commitment to keep digging. I don't care what happens in my life. I'll keep digging. I don't care how bad it hurts. I'll keep digging. If my hands start bleeding, I'll keep digging. I'll dig until I get what God promised me. Somebody shout, dig. Dig. Verse 20 says this. Verse 20 says this. In the morning. Somebody say in the morning. In the morning. It was at the hour of morning sacrifice, and look what it says. The water arrived. The water arrived. Somebody shout, the water's here. The water's here. The water arrived, and it says water, not just drizzling, but water pouring in from the west, from Edom, a flash flood, filling the valley with water. And God is saying, I got you digging ditches. Because if you don't dig ditches when I send the rain, and when I send the water, and when I send the blessing, you won't have any reservoirs in your life. You won't have it. You know why I got to dig ditches in my life? So that when the water comes, I got containers to hold the blessing when it comes. If I don't have a ditch, the blessing will pass me right over. But is there anybody that's got some ditches in your life where you're saying, I'm waiting for the manifestation of the goodness of God, that when God sends his favor, when God sends his water, I'm going to have ditches. That's why you need ditches. Somebody shout ditches. You got to have ditches because they obey God and because they filled the valley with ditches. See, the water wasn't a permanent thing. The water was a moment. Look at somebody and say, don't miss your moment. Don't miss your moment. The thirsty kings had to dig the ditches so that when God sent the water would rest inside the ditches that they had just dug. Today's obedience sets up tomorrow's success. That if you will obey God today, if you will do what God told you to do today, God says, I will do not just what you asked me to do, but God says, I'll do exceedingly and abundantly above all you can ask or think. Somebody give God praise in this place if you know that he's able to do it.